even gotten past the fact that the house they ran into was a prostitute's house? What if we couldn't get beyond the fact that maybe they went to see a prostitute on purpose? What if you look at all of the facts of the prostitute's house? Well, let's look at some of them. It's very clear Rahab was a prostitute. So why would we deny that fact? But let's look at what Rahab, some of the characteristics that we see within this. She's a pretty darn good lady and shows some pretty good virtues for somebody that, if we label her a prostitute, we can't get beyond the fact that she's a prostitute. The fact of the matter was, she cared deeply for her whole family. She didn't say, save me. She said, save my family. My whole family. She's a prostitute. Mom and Dad were probably at home, woohoo, my daughter's a prostitute, you think? I don't think so. But I think she got beyond the fact that she was a prostitute and called upon God, not her God, the spy's God, to save her family. The red cord hanging out the window. Have you ever heard of the red light district? Why they put a red light? Now you know where that comes from. That red light district is the scarlet cord out of the prostitute's window. That's where it came from. Isn't that wonderful? Our Bible supplied us with so many neat things. The prostitute, not only did she care so much for her family and thought and wanting them to survive, she had a whole bunch of flax. And I would think a lot more flax than she needed for just herself piled on the roof, because there was enough to hide these spies under the flax. The flax at that time was on the roof, and what they used it for, they dried the flax out. This prostitute dried out flax, made it into cloth, and then evidently made clothing, but more than just for herself. I'd say that's a pretty good virtue. A woman that's going to dry the flax, turn it into yarn, turn that yarn into cloth, turn that cloth into clothing. And so much of it wasn't just for herself, because she didn't do the bulk of her work in beautiful clothes. She was a prostitute. But she was a prostitute that maybe, if we look at today's society, maybe she didn't wake up one morning and say, I think I'll be a prostitute. Maybe she woke up one morning listening to her children cry because they were still hungry because she had to put them to bed hungry the night before. Unlike today, when we can look other places to feed our children or whatever we need, maybe then she woke up and she said, well, what am I going to do? I guess this is what I will do. This will give me enough sustenance to take care of these children. Maybe. Could be. There wasn't child support, and back then the men just pretty much did what they wanted to do. I've heard that. Even today. Women fight for every dime to raise the children that were made by the two. But she was a prostitute. But she was a prostitute that cared about her family deeply. She was a prostitute that was willing to clothe not only her, but her family. She was a prostitute that cared about society around her and actually protected these two men and was willing to lie to the king of her nation. She was willing, beyond a shadow of a doubt, as far as I can see, to do what was right. She was willing to do what was right. And then the amazing thing that she acknowledged, it wasn't her God. It wasn't her God she acknowledged, it was their God. The power, she saw God to be what God was, even though it wasn't her God. Wow. This lady's got some pretty serious strength and character, don't you think? She acknowledged the power, the might, and the grace. The grace of their God. Knowing that their God, if she did what was right, would bless her and take care of her. Wow. What a hooker. Wow. I know people that consider themselves good, virtuous people that wouldn't do the things that this woman was willing to do. And I would guess that the people around her were judging her at that time, unless they needed her services. But I would imagine that they wouldn't walk on the same side of the street and call her unclean and everything else. But this is the woman that was doing what was right. She saw our God in a better way than many of us see our God at times. A God of protection, a God of justice, a God of faithfulness. Number 3 is to live right even when nobody's looking. She had to continue in this lie to protect those spies and to protect the Israelites before they came. She had to live this lie even after they left. How many would say, man, I'm glad they're gone. Hey, king, over here. Over here. Yeah, they were here. I was just afraid. I need you to stop them. The Israelites are going to be coming over here and crushing us. No, she knew that God was in charge. Even when people aren't looking, her character remained. I'm going to share a story with you about obedience, and it was really, this morning was really, it just, you know how God works in mysterious ways, and God works. Well, somebody shared, before I even did this story, shared the praise of her dog had gotten out, was hit by a car, people took care of it, and now she got her dog back. We love our animals. You know what? There's times, but there's times at home I feel the only unconditional love in our house is my dog. Trust me. I'll forget to feed him while Tina's on vacation. I may forget to feed him at exactly the right time or let him out of the... Anyway, I don't treat them like Tina does. They're dogs. But you know what? When I leave and come back, no matter what I did before I left, they're at the door. 2 of them don't even... They took their tails off so short they don't have tails. They wag their old butt at me. That's more than I can say for Tina. They get excited. They have unconditional love. My horse, when I put it in the stall at night, when I feed it, those horses, if you've ever been around horses, when you give them grain, there's nothing else on their mind. But this little, she wasn't little, she's still growing. She was supposed to stop. She's pretty big. She, when I get ready to close the door and walk out after I give her the grain, she's got to stick her head over the top and rub her soft little nose on my beard. They know what unconditional love is. That's why I want to share this story about this dog named Samson. My daughter Hannah and I had a Great Dane, and his name was Samson. We dearly loved. I got to share. I had. Has anybody ever had a Great Dane? I had a Great Dane. Given to me by my sister when I was younger, and I had an apartment. That dog loved me, but I have to tell you, it weighed over 220 pounds. It put its paws on my shoulders and laid its chin on the top of my head. What Bo wanted, Bo got. I was in a brand new apartment, in an apartment complex, and I decided I better not let Bo have the run of this apartment. So I locked Bo in my bedroom. And Bo had 2 bedrooms. Locked Bo in his bedroom. I came back, and Bo had pulled a queen-size mattress off the bed and ripped the carpet up off the floor. I found out Bo didn't want to be locked in that room. So Bo didn't get locked in that room again. But that dog, there was just something about seeing the feeling in any dog. If you've had a dog, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, this dog's name was Samson. And as it turns out, he was well named for, he was big and strong and muscular. And like his namesake, he also